From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Riffs with your host, Keith Reza.
Hey, Rick Mitchell.
Hey Keith, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so
Ah,
much for having me.
of course. Thanks for doing it. How
Yeah,
is your Friday so far?
it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. I've eased into the weekend, so I'm ready now. I'm okay.
Oh, oh, awesome.
How about
Right.
you?
It was good until about 2 hours ago. I found a skateboard in my garage, and I thought, holy Lord, I used to skateboard when I was in middle school. Maybe I could do it again, right?
Oh,
So I
no.
tried and I fell. And I
Ah,
scraped my entire leg, and it's in major pain. But it's so funny because you
no,
know how they say once you learn how to ride a bike, you'll never forget? That doesn't work for skateboard.
no, no, it doesn't work that way. Did you used to be like pretty good?
I mean, I was all right. I wasn't like
You weren't falling and scraping, right?
yeah, like
Yeah,
I could
yeah,
get
yeah.
I could get
Yeah.
to school and back, and
Right.
but I couldn't do tricks or anything.
Oh,
But yeah, so like
oh,
my leg is just it looks like a
oh God.
Saw movie right
Oh
now.
no.
But
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, yeah. But hey, man, so you have a new book out. It's
Uh-huh.
called How to Write a Funny Speech for a Wedding, Bar Mitzvah, Graduation, and Every Other Event You Didn't Want to Go to in the First Place. And it just came out. You co-wrote it with Carol Leifer. And I wanted to know,
Leifer.
like, Leifer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what was like, did you and Carol just to get together and say, hey, I want to write a book together? Or like, how did that?
Well, I had tossed the idea around for this book for a while because I have done some wedding speeches, quite a few, and I think they're so much fun coming from the world of stand up. I don't know if you've probably given some speeches at events, yeah?
Yeah, I do stand-ups.
Yeah,
I
you
know,
do stand up,
I
and
know
so
about
yeah,
the speeches.
and so they're a blast, right? I mean, there's the expectation's very low at these
Right.
things, and they're not. There's not a lot of good speeches out there. They're pretty bad overall, and so we feel like this is a sort of a void that needs to be filled, and we think it fills that. So I had talked to Carol about it before, and then she had approached me and said, "Let's write this thing. Let's try to take it to a publisher."
Oh,
And
nice.
that's how it happened. My hold on, my dog is scraping at the door. He's very needy when
Oh,
he's
no
not in
worries.
the room. Let's see if he'll come in.
What
I'll
kind of dog?
probably.
What kind of dog do you have?
It's a multi poo to describe him for everyone. He's very cute. Let me just
Yeah,
say that. He's a good
my
guy.
father has a dog just like that, and
Oh yeah.
I have a beagle, which
Okay.
he sleep on my bed, but
Nice.
it just looks like a beagle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these dogs, I mean, poodles are having a moment. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that. Everything is mixed with poodle because they're so smart and they don't shed, So it's like everything is something poodle, golden doodle, multi poo, whatever. They all it's just wow,
yeah.
everything. So like they all start kind of looking the same. One of these ones.
No, yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
Okay.
sorry about
No worries.
that.
So we're at the part where you went to a lot of weddings and you were like, "Hey, Carol, we should
Yeah.
write this book."
We
Because
write this book and yeah, so we took it to some publishers. Carol, for those people who don't know, Carol Leifer is a legend in her own right. She is comes from the world of stand-up, been on Carson and Letterman, and then she wrote for Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. Most recently won the Emmy for Hack. So she's a awesome person to know, and she's written a couple books herself, like memoirs. And so she said, let's take them to some publishers and see if we can get this. And they like the idea of it. So, um, there's a lot of books out there that try to tell you how to write a speech,
right.
and there's a lot of books that try to teach you how to be funny, but there's not a lot of books on writing a funny speech. So, like I said, there's just like this void out there that we feel like it's not that difficult, and we feel like we can probably help a lot of people.
So one of the things that I really liked about the book is I liked how like, and this is a question I wanted to ask you is like, did you get real scenarios of the speeches and then you and Carol kind of like critiqued it, or were those like real speeches written, or did you guys write those speeches?
No, those were like real speeches we did for
Yeah.
sure. Those were real ones. And yeah, that's a fun thing we do in there. We show some examples of speeches that she and I have done, and then we'll kind of each other will point out in the speeches what we liked, what we didn't like about it,
Uh,
just to kind of show people examples of that. So yeah, those were all real speeches that we did, which is cool.
so when someone submitted a speech for you for these books, like, did you get just hundreds of them, or like, we gotta pick the not so ones we could critique or whatever? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how
Well,
stressful was it?
I wish we had that where people submitted, but it was these are just ones that we personally wrote,
Uh,
that we've done in the past. But yeah, for the next one, that'd be great. People submitted their speeches and then we can critique them. That'd be fun to see
that
what
would
people
be,
come up with.
yeah, it'd be like college professor critiques your, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it's a super fun book. It's a we with a book like this too, it's like, well, I think we should you're going to tell people to write a funny speech, it should probably be funny. So we have it's a funny read. We have some funny stuff in there as well, and Carol has worked with Carol Burnett before, so we have a forward from Carol Burnett, which is awesome. So pretty
yeah,
much everyone involved in the book is named Carol except for me. So
yeah. You're named
we changed my
Rick.
name. I'm Rick. That's not Carol.
It'd be funny if you did change your name to Carol
Right.
for the book. Be like Carol
Yeah.
Mitchell.
Carol Mitchell. I should have had Carol Mitchell and then just the one single line through Carol and then Rick.
Yeah, we got the Carols confused, so we call
Yeah.
me Rick.
Yeah, exactly.
But it must be easy because I know you from stand up, so it must be easier to write a book with because I feel comics are actually very good writers, and I feel a lot of people don't really understand that. You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, like, people out there in comics who are just some of the funniest writers, out there. But I've found with, because I do a lot of other writing as well, and each piece of writing is a different animal, you know,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you've done as well. I mean, each thing's kind of different, and so with something like this, it's not like a novel where you have to have some sort of narrative through line, but we do sort of, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and just like you would with the joke. So there are a lot of similarities as well.
Uh-huh. I was hoping you'd write a chapter about funerals because I think people really need to learn how to write funny stuff at funerals.
Yeah,
Because I
I
think like
agree.
that would be because that's probably the most sad one, and it it really helps if you can make people laugh at a funeral.
For sure. And Carol has one example of a speech in there that she did at, I don't even know if it was a funeral or if it was like a celebration of life, but she has one example in there what she did. And a lot of them now, I think people get scared because it's the funeral and it's supposed to be sad, but that's why I think a lot of people now do these like celebrations of life, because it's like, why are we making it sad? Let's celebrate the person rather than just
Oh yeah.
make it sad. And so that's, she gave a speech that was like, it was funny, and then but you can also be, heartfelt too, and it was, it did very well. So yeah, you can still apply the same rules.
I wish I read this book when my grandfather died. I would have taken some tips, because like
Oh no.
I had to talk at his funeral, and the first thing I said, I was like, "Well, the good news is he can't hit me anymore." Haha.
Did she really say that, or you just?
Yeah, so like,
Oh my
but
God.
it's just like what
Oh,
but
oh,
he never laid a hand on me. I was just trying to
right.
break the mood and
Oh
stuff.
God, it's
But
perfect.
the whole audience just cracked up and I was just like, dude, there really is a market because you see
Yeah.
comedians doing weddings and churches and stuff. There
Hmm.
has to be a market for them doing funerals.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's certainly something you don't want to have to do,
Ah,
but that's a great example of your joke. Like, people would be scared to do that joke, but like there's such a tension in the
ah.
room that for you to break the tension like that is perfect. I
You
mean,
and
you got them laughing. Yeah.
you and I should go on a funeral tour.
I love it. The funeral
right?
comics. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
and
I
like
love it.
we'll just hit all these
Oh my God.
funerals,
Oh,
the funeral crashers.
I would love the. Oh, I love it. I love it. The funeral kings of comedy or something, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to edit this because this is a gold idea. But
This is great. I would love that. You know, I had. It's funny. I did one wedding one time, and as you know, with these speech, look, if you're a stand-up and you can form any sort of joke, they go crazy. They're just not expecting it in these venues. It's not like a comedy club where they're like, okay, we're expecting you
right,
to be funny. So all these speeches I do at weddings go very well, and and so after one of them, somebody's like, man, he was kind of drunk, and he's like, that was really funny, man. You should just go around and just do weddings.
yeah,
And I was like, yeah, well, I was like, I think part of why it works is because I know the people here and have
right.
kind of like some inside jokes. Like, I don't know, man. I think it would work. At that point, you're just like, okay, I'll do that. Sure.
Uh, but no, like it is so funny because I feel, j just on what I was reading, I feel weddings are just like the toughest because they either know, like you said in your book, they either know one side, the bride or the groom. You know what I mean? So like it's
True.
very hard to pick it on. But see, like I would if I was writing, I mean, no one would ever ask me to speak at a wedding because I went to my grandfather's funeral. But if they did, like I would purposely just try and like maybe it's the comic in me too, but I would just try and break them up with the speech. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'd be like, "Whoa, Chad, you settled on Christy, huh? Didn't know you like the blondes, huh? Glad you dropped your standards." Something like that,
Right.
just to
Well,
get the laughs out.
yeah, yeah. And I mean that's we try to talk about that in the book a little bit because there is like a balance there, and we do say like, we say keep it classy because there's so many people who have been to weddings. In fact, this is how I met my wife. Was years ago. I was at a friend's birthday party at like a hotel bar, and I see this beautiful woman dressed in a bridesmaid's dress,
Was this your wife?
just by herself. This was going
Oh,
to be my yes. So
oh, I
she's in
like
a
this story.
bridesmaid's dress, and I was like, well, what is this? Why is there just one woman in a bridesmaid's dress in this bar? And so I go over to talk to her, and it turns out she was in a wedding in the banquet hall next door. And she said it just got out of hand. Like the best man got up there and he was like, let the affair begin. And it just got like really bad. Like people were like booing and it was just like terrible. And she's like, I got to step outside. And so, whereas it's great that that's how I met my wife, I think there's it does more disservice these sort of speeches where these people get up there and do that. So it's like, this is people have to remember this isn't their day. A lot of these
Right.
things they go to, and it's like it's supposed to be it's for the bride and the groom, and you need to be entertaining, but also, you know, be classy about it and not ruin their day.
Uh, Did you
So it's
ever
like a fine line.
did you ever see The Wedding Singer with Adam
Of
Sandler?
course, of
So like
course.
where Steve Boot oh fuck, what's his name?
Buscemi, Buscemi.
Buscemi. Yeah, he's in it and he just makes like a scene. I was
Yeah.
like it was the funniest scene in the whole movie. I just thought, yeah, if I ever get married, I'm not gonna invite anybody
Yeah.
because you know
Right. It's true. I mean, one person can really mess things up for you. Very true.
that was his brother, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Oh man.
I'm an orphan. I don't have any
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. But you've given a funeral speech. You've never given a wedding speech.
No, I did stand up at a wedding once, and that was not fun at all.
Mm.
That was I don't know why the guy hired me to do stand up at his wedding. It was kind of
And you didn't know these people?
no, I just yeah. But it was just so hard because like my humor is very sophisticated and like I have autism and I have a speech stutter, so like that's part of my
Mhm.
humor and stuff. And they didn't get it at all. And I think I was
Right.
the guy saying, "Let the fairs begin," yeah. Like I think that was me, to be honest. I mean, I don't
Well, one time I did this speech at my friend's wedding and it went really well. And I actually got a call from his uncle after saying, that was so great. Will you come do my 50th high school reunion. I'll
Yeah.
pay you for it. And I was like, okay, because I was going to be paid. But in my mind, I'm going, I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
And I tried to get together with him, like, can you give me information on people? Like, if we get some inside stuff, it's going to go better. And he's like, I don't really have anything on anyone. And I was like, oh boy. And I go up, I mean, I just bomb like I've never bombed before. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
that's where it's so helpful when you know the people, and it's like, and I was just doing kind of what you were doing, which just like regular stand up, and these people are like, what? These old people are like, what is happening? Like, why are we doing? What is this?
But do you think like that's part of the funniness? Because like you and I get it, but
Yeah,
like I think maybe that's why, because there is something funny about an audience not laughing.
sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? And
Well,
I don't know what that is, but
I know
it's,
you worked with Norm,
oh
and I've
yeah.
heard you mention that, and he's one of my absolute favorites. I've always admired how he could do that. And some comics are like fine with it, like, oh, I'm gonna go up and bomb on purpose. That roast he did and stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think I have that. Like, there's something funny about it, but when it's happening to me, I'm like, I don't love it.
See that's the thing about the TV, because when he did the roast, he actually wasn't bombing. And I think the TV,
Really?
yeah, the TV kind of made it seem like he was bombing.
They did. I mean, it's like the comics in the room definitely were. I mean, I was dying watching it. I
Yeah.
was like, this is so funny, but they did make it look like it was like just awkward.
Yeah, and he did more than, I want to say he did like 25 minutes. So like it
Oh
was,
wow.
so like that's the thing, how like TV magic. I mean, you have that
Yeah,
experience with that with Ellen and stuff, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Where like it's like they don't show you everything.
No, no.
And that's I
Oh
did
man.
I did want to ask you about Ellen. You have an
Hmm.
Emmy, right? For writing
I've
that show.
got 5 Emmys,
Oh,
five daytime Emmys.
what does an Emmy look like?
It looks just like the regular Emmy if you've seen one. It's just I don't even know what it is with the girl with the like pointy thing and then the head. Just it looks the same as a primetime Emmy.
Oh, that's cool. And it has
Yeah,
your name on it.
it's got my name on
It
it.
says Carol Mitchell.
This is Carol. So good. Callback. Perfect. Um, yeah. No, I got 5 of those. Some of the I was there the last 6 seasons. Some of my friends were there like much longer, and they've got one of my friends, Gil Rife, was there for a lot of maybe 11 seasons or something. He has like so many
Yeah.
that at a bachelor party, he was drunk one time and he bet his friend one of the Emmys, I think over like a ping pong game, and he lost it.
Oh
And
my
he's like, all right.
God.
And he's like, all right, here, you got the Emmy. Because he still had, 10 more. He's
Yeah.
like, whatever, but still hysterical.
I want to play
Uh,
ping pong with your friend. So I could tell so
that's the
I
best way to get an Emmy.
so I could tell
That's
people,
the
yeah,
best.
I got
Yeah,
an Emmy for my
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I know. I love that somebody just has an Emmy in their house. And I'm like, what? I thought you were an accountant. What is
Yeah.
this?
But no, but in all seriousness, how cool of an
Hmm.
accomplishment is that? Like that like how do you feel right when you got your first one? Like,
Oh, it was
holy
awesome.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, there were two because look, we would get nominated for writing, and then also they would put us on, like, put all the writers on for show as well, like as producers. So the very first one I won, I can't remember if it was I think it might have been my first season, and we won for best show. And I mean, that's just an incredible moment. And my wife was there to see it, which was awesome because there's like 2 nights of these things you go to. They're so long and they're just,
Yeah.
I mean, they go on forever. And it's not like, not to disparage it, but it's not like the primetime Emmy where, you know, Colbert comes out, Conan comes out. You know what I mean? All these faces from the shows. It's like
Right.
a lot of soap opera people there. And so it's like, I look, nothing against them, but I don't know them. I don't watch
No.
soap operas. So it's like a lot of the night of like, who, I don't know who these people are. And so that was awesome to win it that first time. That my wife didn't feel obligated to come anymore to these long nights. And then we won a couple more times, but then the other great one was when we actually won for writing, and that felt like, okay, this felt really good to get one for the thing I'm actually
Yeah.
doing. So That was cool.
Congratulations. I'm
Thanks.
jealous.
Yeah.
I'm jealous you
Yeah.
have an Emmy. I never,
Thanks, man.
and I do got good ping pong skills, so I think I
Yeah.
could get one.
Well, I'm jealous you opened for Norm.
Oh yeah, well, I
I'd
mean,
love to hear about that guy. I mean, I when I started stand up and it was in, gosh, I want to say 98 or 99. Um, I didn't grow up with like Comedy Central. We didn't have that in our town. So when I went to college, they had Comedy Central, and I was like, that's all I would watch. I was like, oh my God, I can watch as much stand up as I want now. I had
yeah.
just started doing stand up, and I already loved Norm from Weekend Update, and then I saw his one night stand, and I was like, oh my God, because I'm very
Is
dry
it
as well.
HBO special? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny, and the jokes are so good, and he just really made me laugh. That, and this was hard to do back in the day. I figured out a way to like transfer the audio from the TV onto a CD and burn it onto a CD just so I could listen to it like in the car and elsewhere. I loved it so much. Like that was he was such so good.
So touring, I mean, I'll answer whatever questions, but like before I do, I just want to like say for the audience at home, and I think maybe you can like vouch for this because you wrote for Ellen, but touring with someone is a lot, it's a different relationship than also writing with someone. I
Sure.
loved touring with Norm. I hated writing with Norm.
Really?
So that
And why is that?
it's just because I mean when you're on a show and stuff, like I'm not the best writer, but I was the best writer in writing in Norm's voice. So
Yeah.
like I can make any joke Norm's voice
Hmm.
approval. And I think a lot of writers didn't like that because me and him were
Hmm.
so close and I had that ability to do that on really shitty jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just got very toxic in the studio and stuff, and it was just like I figured maybe I don't want to be a writer
Mm.
for.
So you were feeling that from like other writers?
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
bullyish, and it was
Yeah.
very it's a business, and I guess when you get a writing job, at least for me, I was like, oh, these are all my buddies, it's gonna be fun.
Hmm.
And then it's two different relationships where on the road we're buddies, but in
Yeah.
the office, like I wanted to fucking kill them. Like they were just
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like it was just toxic, you know what I mean? And bullyish.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I've heard that so much about writing places. A lot of the late night shows I've heard of how competitive it is, and they keep track of how many jokes you get on the
Yeah,
show and stuff. And that's not a way to really
it's not a
foster a
healthy,
creative
yeah,
environment. No, I don't think
exactly.
so. I was fortunate enough to where like Ellen wasn't like that. Like the writers, we were all good friends, and like we all get along. We're supportive of each other, so there wasn't anything like that, which was really cool. It was a great experience. But I have heard plenty of people describe your experience, and yeah, it does sound like not fun. And it's like it's comedy. We're supposed to be laughing.
Yeah.
And just the idea that that's not happening. It's like okay, well,
Well, I think what it is, and like I don't want to play the victim here. Like
no,
I probably did my own share of this stuff too, but
sure,
I think it is it's a thing of like, hey, if you get a joke on the TV, you get lots of money and you could tell people, hey, you know what I mean? Like I think it's something
right,
like that. So
right,
I do see both sides, but writing for television, I mean that was my dream to do. Like I wanted to
yeah,
write on a sitcom, and then once I did that, I was like, maybe I just want to write movies. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. No, I get it. It's just a weird thing too when there's such a competitive environment. I get it that everybody wants their jokes on stuff, but it's like, aren't we all working for the same show here? Isn't this
Uh,
the same? Shouldn't we all be working towards the same goal? Like, why are we fighting, over jokes? Like it's kind of silly.
yeah, but
At the
tor
same time, if you're someone who's at the show and you're not getting jokes on the show, yeah, I mean, that's going to feel not great either. So I think
exactly, you feel like you're not good enough, and you feel like
right,
you're just wasting your time because
yeah,
But touring with him was the best, man. I mean, he was
yeah,
my best friend, and dude, like it's hard for me now to get into clubs because how I got into clubs is just through Norm. Like Norm would
yeah,
say, I want Keith Reza or I'm not going up, stuff like
yeah,
that. And I don't
right,
have an agent or a manager or a
yeah,
publicist. So it's just like, you know what I mean? But
That's well, that's awesome that you had that time to do that with him. I mean, there's few people that comics, you know, talk about, like all comics sort of universally talk about that they like, and I think he's really one of them. That they really,
yeah.
I don't think he got enough credit with I think there was a whole kind of portion of sort of mainstream that didn't, quite get him, but God, the people who did get him were like, this is the funniest guy ever. I mean, he's just
Oh yeah, definitely.
so many amazing moments with him.
Yeah. I think that's my goal as a comic too. This might be terrible to say, but like, do you remember this comic Dick Shawn where like he was performing and then he died while he was performing?
No, no, I know that the story of like Albert Brooks' dad when he
Yeah,
was performing at a roast and he died, a similar thing. But yeah, that's how you'd like to go.
yeah, but
Yeah, sure,
because the whole entire audience will always remember that experience, right?
sure, sure.
And or on the flip side, I want to be the comic performing where an audience member dies because I'm so funny.
No,
And
that'd be
you
good.
know what I mean? Like it's like one of
If you
the
could actually prove that he died from you being funny,
yeah,
that I have to say that would be quite an accomplishment.
like Keith Raises the funniest guy in the world. You
Oh
can't
God,
go see him
this guy,
live, you might
he's
die.
literally killing. It's amazing. That'd be great.
Yeah. But I think that's weird that those are my two goals in stand-up now. It used to be get on TV, but now I
Nah,
have little.
after a while, you're like, I just want either I want to die or I want to kill someone. I don't know. If we weren't talking about stand up, I'd have to report you. But I
Oh
think
yeah, definitely, definitely for sure. But no, yeah, I mean, Norm was great, man. I mean, I'll tell you a quick Norm story if you want to hear it.
please,
So we did San Diego American Company once, and I'll like just for the purpose of the story, say the manager's name was Pat. You know what I mean? Like just normal.
sure.
And or Joe Smith, John Smith.
There
That's
you go. Yeah.
so. So the show's
Harold Mitchell.
the show starts at 8, right? I do my time. Sean O'Connor does his time, and I think there Fred Stoller might have done some time. So then Norm goes on, and Norm the show starts at 8. So Norm does an hour and a half, and there's a 10 o'clock show, and in the 10 o'clock show, didn't start seating till like 11:30. And the manager comes in. He's like, "All right, John Smith." He's like, "All right, Norm. So tomorrow we got to start right on time and we got to keep it really on time because we can't sell drinks past midnight. And what's the point of having a 10 o'clock show if you're going to do this shit?" And he's like on heroin or something, like he's really wired out, right? And Norm's like, "But why?" Like, and then like he's just explaining it again, and he's like, "I completely understand." So then the 10 o'clock show starts at 11:30. Norm does 3 hours. These guys don't get out till 3 a.m., right? And then Norm turns to me and is like, "Well, John Smith only said we had to worry about this problem tomorrow. It's still Friday, you know?" So then Saturday comes in, right? John Smith comes in like 10 minutes before the 8 o'clock show. He's like, "All right, Norm, so keep it at 50 minutes because we have another show and we can't." And Norm's like, "But why?" So he had
Why
to,
there? Yeah.
yeah, so he explained it again, and then Norm just looks at me. He's like, "Man, I really feel bad about this weekend's 10 o'clock shows." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because the show's not going to start till midnight now." So like that's just like all he did. Like he
Yeah,
purposely did that,
I
and
know.
that's why he was a genius. You know what I mean?
Uh, it was just, I mean, it was like an Andy Kaufman element
Oh
to him
yeah,
with
for
some of the
sure.
stuff, right? I mean, as soon as I mean, I didn't know exactly where the story was going, but I had a kind of an idea because I've heard enough Norm stories that as soon as the guy's telling him you need to do this, he's going to go do the opposite. Like that's just who he is.
Like John Smith was
Amazing.
literally wasting his breath,
Oh, it's so funny.
and that's probably why I haven't played there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
right,
I'm
right,
associated with it.
right. Why?
But hey, I wanted to ask you about
Mhm.
laughs because that
No problem.
show, you did a segment on that show, and that show I remember when it was what 10, 11 years ago, I remember
Was it
during
that
that.
long ago now?
It was a while ago.
My
I
God,
remember
yeah,
that
close
show
to that,
got a
yeah.
lot of heat though, because like with the whole not paying comic stuff, and
Mm,
then I guess now that I'm saying this back then where it was getting heat, but now back then I would have loved to have been on Laughs. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because
Well,
it's a credit.
I think if I remember, I think we did get paid. I mean, I don't think it was much, but I
Yeah,
think if I remember, I think I did get paid. But I mean, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you
exactly.
wanted
You're doing it for the laughs.
a credit. Yeah. And look, similar to you, and my focus has always been writing first, but also stand up has been kind of secondary since I took on writing. But I'm not out at the clubs all the time, so I don't have a lot of those connections. So that's sort of, I had tried like submitting tapes, even with like recommendation like Conan and things, and I get nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, who is this guy?
I feel like a recommendation is just a waste of time when they
It's
say,
kind of worse sometimes,
yeah,
right? Like,
because you never know if
um,
the booker likes this
right,
recommendation.
right.
And
Well,
that's the
yeah.
problem.
Well, I remember somebody recommending because they were on the show. Like you figure, like, oh, they were on the show, so that might help. I don't, but then I get like not even like no, it seems to be just like no response ever. You know what I mean? Which is
Right.
almost like worse. I'd rather
That
just
is
know,
so, oh, dude.
right?
I hate no, like, because when on every email I send, I always send a disclaimer like, hey, I have Asperger's. It's okay if the answer is no, but I'd appreciate just some sort of response because
Yeah.
I get major anxiety just being ghosted. You
Have
know,
you put this in the email to them?
no, on every single
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
have to
yeah.
because
Right.
it's not that I want the response, it's because it is a real condition and
Yeah, no, for sure.
I feel people don't understand that.
Yeah. No, they
And
don't. Right.
when you send that disclaimer, I would say half of them respond no or
Well,
not
that's good.
interested, but
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
I'm getting the response where I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm never emailing these guys again. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. There's something that's so just about a no response. It's just like, really? We can't just
It takes 2 seconds to say no, thanks, or
like you don't want to hurt my feelings or what? Like it's like we're adults here. Let's just
yeah,
not waste each
hurt
other's
my
time.
feelings, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best thing I remember when I was looking for like a manager years ago for like a literary manager, and there was this guy had read a script one time or something, and he was nice. He passed on it, whatever. But years later, I touched base because I was just trying to find a manager and touching base with him. I remember reaching out to that guy again, and so many people are like, "Okay, let me see. I got to check with people," or no response. And then this guy he just wrote back. He was like, "I don't think I'm your guy,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Great." It was like it made me so happy not to get a no, but just like somebody was like straightforward like that. And I was like, appreciate it. We don't have to waste each other's time now. I don't have to email you in 2 weeks saying, hey, did you get a chance to look at that?
Yeah.
You
Did you
know,
respond and say, "Can you point me to the right guy?"
you know what? That's wow. I actually should have done that. I should have said, is there anybody you recommend? That
Yeah.
actually would have been good.
Just keep the
And then he, and then he,
conversation going.
and then he just would have not responded.
But no, but back to club recommendations. I learned this the hard way where like if I use one of my friends' recommendations, I've learned the bookers probably don't think my friends are funny, so they wouldn't respond. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
learned that
yeah,
in a very hard way with I don't want to say his name,
yeah.
but
John Smith.
John
And
Smith because I
he
think
was
he
also the manager at the
yeah
comedy
because
club. Yeah,
John Smith does listen to my podcast and he'll know and he'll think it's funny, but I don't want the airwaves to know. So like I'd
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
"Hey, John Smith recommends me," and then the booker says, "I fucking hate John Smith."
Like, okay. So
Yeah.
no, or where are we at here?
So now I'm in a bigger rabbit hole because I'm associated with John Smith. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Now it's like, well, now how am I ever going to be there? Right.
I know this Pocahontas girl is just so nuts. It's a Disney joke. But I wanted to ask you about TMZ too, because you were the
Hmm.
joke guy on TMZ. That's probably where you're most famous for, right?
Yeah, yeah. I probably got recognized from that more than anything, and that was sort of back in the heyday of when it
TMZ
first
or
came out, where it was like it was a crazy time where it was just like, oh, this is sort of the new thing. And, I was there for all the like big stuff, the Michael Jackson death, and like all this the crazy stuff happening. I was there for it. So that was wild. Um,
What was your
and
joke on the Michael Jackson death?
I don't know if I had a joke on that,
Oh,
but I will tell you the story. This is me and one of my other friends who worked there. His name's Chris Reed, and he does some the voiceover on the show. At the time, he was also writing and producing for the show. Now he just does the voiceover. But so we would do the show, and then that was in the can by 1 o'clock. And then we're there a couple more hours. So around 1 o'clock, we would walk out and go get some lunch, and then come back with the lunch. And I remember we had come back, and just the whole place was just going crazy. And
yeah.
we were like, what happened? And somebody's like, uh, something happened. Michael Jackson's in the hospital. Something happened, and he might be dead. And we're just looking around, and Chris is, from comedy like me, and we're just looking around going, we are the two most useless people in this room right now, because there's literally like, does anybody need a fart joke right
Yeah.
now? Is this a good time for that? I mean, there's nothing that we could have done. So,
You should have said,
um,
"Can someone call Macaulay Culkin, make sure he's okay?"
and we did, and he was not. Um, um, but yeah, it was just a wild time there. And then, when that show like started, it's fun if you've ever been at the show at the beginning, because the show doesn't know what it is yet, and so you're helping like form the voice and everything. And so it was really cool because when it would start, everybody there is in the room, and people think too, like, oh, those people are hired to be in the room. No, those people were just already employees, and then they threw them in the room, like, okay,
Yeah.
now we're going to talk about it. So like after that, everybody goes to their regular job,
Oh,
and so we're all on camera pitching in the morning, and I remember I just my stand up sense and comedy sense, I'm just like yelling out jokes. And I remember Harvey Levin just kept going like, oh, I don't know,
yeah.
like he didn't like it, and people kept trying to put my jokes in the show, and he kept like axing them. And he's like, no, no. And then at some point he realizes like, okay, maybe this is more comedy. Maybe we should. And so we start like buttoning the show, pieces with jokes and stuff. So I just ended up being one of the guys in the back who would just yell out jokes. I mean,
Oh,
it was super fun. Um, most people didn't know. Most people don't know your name. They just know you're at
right.
TMZ. So I would either get the responses I would get in public, or would be someone would recognize me, and they clearly like the show because they just yell TMZ,
Yeah.
right? And like, hey, you're TMZ. Never even my other favorite response to getting recognized though was someone would you feel someone, and I could get a sense of like, oh man, this is like what fame would be, but times a zillion. I can tell why you would go crazy. You feel people like staring at you,
Right.
and you know why, but you can see in their eyes that they're trying to place you, and they cannot figure it out. And
Right.
most of the time, eventually, they would come up to you and go, do I know you from somewhere? Like, did we work at the hospital together? and then I'd have to say, no, it's from, me from TMZ. And then they have this just shock and embarrassment on their face that they just admitted they watched TMZ.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was fun.
I got one cool TMZ story for you.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah.
Okay, so like I used to be friends with Andy Dick. I mean, we're still friends, but we're not
Hmm.
like best friends anymore. I
Yeah.
remember one time we were walking, right? And this is, I mean, if you know Andy, you know his problems or whatever. So
Hmm.
We're walking and TMZ's following us, right?
Hmm.
And Andy's just telling me, he's like, don't talk to the publicity. They're just fuckers, blah, blah, blah. Don't, they're just going to make things up and blah, blah, blah. And then the TMZ guy asked Andy like a very serious question, like, hey, why do you hate John Lovitz or something? So Andy stops. He's like, this is why I hate John Lovitz.
He couldn't resist. He's like, I gotta
so,
answer
so I just thought it was
this.
just so funny. Where like this
Oh,
whole, I think the whole, do what I say, but don't do it
yeah, don't
scenario
do,
is
yeah, do
very funny.
as I say, not as I do. Right?
Yeah,
Kind of thing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
You know,
That's
this
so
is a
funny.
great element for your sequel on your book. You could write, okay, you know, elements like
Yeah,
this. Like,
yeah, exactly.
so you
Yeah,
got
it's funny.
funerals, you got paparazzi. Like,
There you go. What to do if you're that's a very niche book for just the celebrities. Like here's how you respond to paparazzi. I think the best way to, and I feel like we don't get celebrities out as much anymore like we used to because now with Instagram and stuff, they're sort of doing their own
uh,
things there. So I feel like we don't get them out as much. But I always felt like the best way to, like, if you really don't want anything to do with them, the best thing to do is just say nothing
right.
and like walk. Like that's what like Steve Martin would do when we got, he just wouldn't say anything. And it's like, there's nothing we can really do with that.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
they say something nice, we can, you can have fun with it. If they say something mean, well, then that's gonna, not be good. So
I noticed it was like always like the D or C list celebrities who would talk to you guys. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what a lot of people don't know this too. It's like we would get
all right,
so
sorry guys. I think my fat finger must have hit the thing.
no, that's okay. We'll start over.
Oh, we'll
Um,
start over.
so what was I saying? A lot of people don't know this, but the publicists would call us
Oh, really?
and say, "Oh yeah, my client's going to be at Nobu tonight." And we go, you
Oh,
know. So I always felt like it was like there's like certain like if you didn't want to be seen,
right,
because there were like 10 places that if you go to you're going to be seen, but it's like we weren't really getting Tom Hanks out. You know what I mean?
right.
It's like certain people, it's like you could avoid it if you wanted to for the most
That'd be pretty cool though. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
By the way, buy Rick's book, which is not dark at all. It's called How to Write a Funny Speech for a Wedding, Bar Mitzvah, Graduation, and every other event you didn't want to go to the first place. And Rick just told me he's in the process of writing a sequel. Is how to make a podcast dark and funny when you're promoting a book that's not dark.
I like really niche books that are really for about 10 to 12 people.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm
Oh
really just like,
well,
how can I write a book that Keith will buy? And that's all I really want.
I would have bought it, but they sent it to me, and like I was like, all right, well, because I am a big like because not to brag, Rick, but I am also a celebrity myself. You know, you and me, we're
No,
celebrities,
look,
so
I'm doing your show.
yeah,
You know,
exactly. But like
big deal.
I like buying stuff and supporting other celebrities and stuff, so I had no problem buying it. But then when they sent it to me, I was like, hey, it just saved me $20.
Yeah, there you
Huh.
go. Well, Keith, not to brag, it's actually 16.95. So I don't want to.
Okay. I
Let's
was gonna
not.
say, send me your Venmo. I will
You
Venmo.
probably can do like 4 easy payments of whatever that comes out to too.
Uh,
I've never had to like promote anything before, so it's really funny to me to like see
oh yeah.
people like promote stuff all the time, and then now I'm doing it. It's like it is funny.
Here's the one thing that I haven't noticed just from like comedy and like I've been podcasting for 11 years and stuff. I think when people are all about like seriousness and obviously we want to promote stuff, but if
Mhm.
you're all about that thing, it's kind of why I don't like talk shows like Conan or Allen or Letterman anymore because it's no longer about promoting something. Like I think you increase your chances of people buying what you've done or seeing what you've done if they get to know who you are. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
So like that's why podcasting I think is like
yeah,
it's the new thing because everyone who listens are like, dude, Rick
yeah,
Mitchell. I
yeah,
fucking like Rick Mitchell, man. I
yeah.
want I want to read that book he wrote.
And that's yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the only reason I'm here is so people get to know me and the charity work I do with reading to whales.
yeah.
I
I
do
mean
a lot of
that's
that.
perfect. Yeah,
Right. And a lot of people don't know this. Whales love Tom Clancy novels. That's what I read to them, and they like that.
yeah,
So look, I'm just a good guy, just trying to
yeah.
trying to make a buck.
I heard Wells hate the Free Willy book though.
Hate it.
They like want.
Because it's that thing where like, doctors watch a doctor show and they're
Yeah,
like, that's not how it is. And
yeah,
that's that the whales are like, this isn't, and they're also like, we knew Willie. He
yeah,
was he was a dick.
Yeah,
He was
that's
a dick.
every
Yeah,
well
right.
I've ever interviewed. They always said Willie was a dick, and they were
Yeah,
saying like Willie really wanted to jump over that fence and crush that kid,
yeah.
but they
He was
said,
hoping. Yeah,
yeah, they said that Michael Manson was really attached to that kid, so he didn't want to
yeah,
do it. I don't
yeah.
know, but
It's true. It's
uh,
true. And I mean, you can just look at the TMZ videos when we've gotten Willie out, and it's his. Oof,
yeah, yeah.
not
Cut
a
to
good.
Andy Dick. Don't talk. I got some. My last question for you. This is actually a very serious question. If you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of Rick Mitchell, knowing everything you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Wow, that's a good one. Um, uh, Invest in Netflix?
Oh,
Could
that's
that
a
be a
good
movie?
one.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely would say save a lot more. Save. Right? I'm
Yeah.
pretty a lot better at that now, but um, man, especially with like it would be like save because eggs are going to be expensive.
Oh yeah, dude, eggs are so pricey.
So
I gotta
ridiculous.
buy a chicken, man. But
I know.
the problem is the chicken store, they only give you the chickens fried.
Uh,
You know, like KFC. I say, hey, do you have one of
yeah.
those
You have one of those. Hey, you got
live
one of those.
fried chickens?
It does feel like a good Norm bit. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, a problem there. Yeah, you go to
Well, one of those
that
live
chicken
fried
store there.
chickens, the
Yeah,
ones who
yeah.
give you eggs and fry the eggs as they
Give me
give
one of those
birth.
live chickens. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, the only thing they serve you is the dead chickens. You know. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
Beautiful. But yeah, I think I would say that I would tell myself, look, it's not going to go how you think it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's going to go differently, and it's going to be okay,
That's great.
right?
That's great.
Because you always have that idea in your head that it's going to go like this, and rarely does it go, right? I mean, it's like
Uh,
twists and turns, you know. You just got to go with it, I guess.
that's so great. I thought for sure you were going to say, Rick, this is Rick Mitchell, 2025. How are you? Uh, if Keith Reza says, "Hey, you want to do my podcast to promote your book?" Don't do it because it's gonna be dark. And you're
I would
trying to
just
get those cells.
I just I just like younger me is going. First of all, what's a podcast? I don't know this. Secondly, what happens on this podcast that the only thing future me told me was to not do that podcast. Like this must be awful. Is he like a some sort
Uh,
of serial killer? Like what's going on?
but hey, since you're a big Norm fan, I will after the I end it. If you stay on, I will tell you the last joke him and I ever wrote together. I mean, I do it on this podcast, but it's very, very dark, and I don't want you to like
Yeah.
lose the cells. But if you want to
Yeah.
stay, I will.
Oh, that's really nice of you. No, I gotta go though. But thanks though.
All
No,
right, cool.
of course I want to hear it. Of
Okay. All
course,
right.
of course.
All right, guys. So buy Rick's book, how the longest title ever. How to write a funny speech for a wedding, bar mitzvah, graduation, and every other event you didn't want to go to in the first place, which is out now on Amazon. Buy it, support Rick, and Rick, do you have a social media folks can follow you on? And
RickMitchell.com and it's Rick Mitchell on Twitter
all
or
right.
X or whatever you're calling
All right, and then follow Rick on X or Twitter, whatever you call it, at It's
it. Yeah.
Rick Mitchell. All right,
Yeah.
Rick, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Keith. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week.